There was a CEO of an electronics engineering firm who had been with his company for nearly 25 years, almost from the beginning, and built it up from about $10 million to over $200 million in revenue. But it just wasn't working anymore. Beyond a significant drop in revenue, in the previous 12 months, he'd had the unexpected resignations of 2 senior executives plus several upper and middle managers. He'd been trying to install a new VP of sales and marketing, but was getting pushback from some members of his executive team about the person he'd chosen. He estimated the cost associated with just the defection of senior and other managers to exceed $2 million. Plus, of course, the lost revenue, the hassles involved, damage to their reputation, and horrible worker morale, as you can imagine. He went through a number of recruiting agencies, hired 2 different consultants and some executive coaches. They even did some executive team building workshops. Still, nothing was getting better. By then, the CEO was seriously considering retirement himself because there just wasn't any fun in it for him anymore. Then, a colleague friend of his recommended a tool like the ones we've just been talking about. Let me show you what they learned and how they used the data. So here's a sample profile chart like they got. We don't have time to go into too much detail here, but let me give you a basic overview of what this data means. It looks at how clear-minded each person is and what they value across multiple thinking dimensions. On the top half of the chart, it describes their thinking about things outside of themselves, like their work, empathy, practical thinking, and structured thinking. Down below, it shows how they think about themselves, self-empathy, role awareness, and self-direction. The circles in each of these areas explain how clear they are in their thinking. The bigger the circle, the clearer they are, meaning the better and faster they are at seeing things as they really are. And the locations of the circles on the lines tell us how much they value each dimension, how much they pay attention to it, or not. In most cases, anything smaller than a red circle indicates that they're lacking sufficient clarity to function effectively in a position of leadership. So if the circle under empathy were small, for instance, it would give you a good indication that they don't really get other people. If the circle is too high above the center of the line, they're overvaluing that aspect of thinking. And if it's too low below the center, they're disregarding it. So for instance, if the circle for empathy were all the way at the bottom, it would indicate that they have trust issues and are inattentive to others. If it were at the very top, they're too trusting. Under practical thinking, if the circle is at the top, they're over-focused on doing and likely to make decisions too quickly, whereas if it's at the bottom, they'll make decisions too slowly. If the structured thinking circle is at the top, they're likely to micromanage, whereas if it's at the bottom, they're ignoring structure altogether and will let others do whatever they like. The profile will also outline how open people are to input from others, how patient they're likely to be, etc. This is a major oversimplification, but hopefully it helps you to get a general understanding of what you're looking at. In the simplest sense, big circles in the middle of all these lines is optimal. But how each of these different thinking dimensions interact with one another also plays a significant role in predicting the performance of leaders. So here you can see the candidate the CFO had chosen to become the new VP of Sales and Marketing. From an external perspective, you can see a lot of strength and balance. He's clear-minded and attentive across the board. The challenge with this person is that he's really confused internally. His attentiveness in all of these internal dimensions of thinking are lower than all of the external dimensions. So he's mostly focused outwardly, and as a result, is inattentive to himself. He may look great from the outside, but someone with this profile is likely to create a lot of drama. He's also really unclear about his own strengths and has no clear direction for himself. Again, he looks great from the outside, but other issues with his thinking will make it difficult for him to succeed as a leader, especially in senior management. This one on the right is the candidate the company president wanted to promote. When you look, you can immediately see that from an internal perspective, this person is much clearer about their strengths and is very self-motivated. The challenge here has more to do with the empathy and structured thinking up above. While he's in the top 0.5% in terms of his ability to intuitively understand others, he's way over-attentive to the needs of others for his own good. A VP of Sales and Marketing with this profile would likely be taken advantage of by others or lead by consensus, which of course rarely works. This person also has relatively low clarity when it comes to structured thinking. Like most great salespeople, this person stinks at handling details. You can work around that when they're great at selling, but this lack of attention to structure will likely make them a poor manager. Like the first candidate, this person has some great strengths that can be used to serve the company in another capacity, just not as the VP of Sales and Marketing. Okay, here's the top pick of the CEO, who they ended up promoting. One look at this chart makes it obvious that from a thinking perspective, this person is the best fit for VP of Sales and Marketing. Big circles and very balanced for the most part. The assessment helped them to see the strengths and challenges of each candidate and reach an agreement. The profile charts were also used to drive the interview process, as it allowed them to drill down on potential challenges to determine how they could support the performance of each candidate even though they weren't selected for advancement. I'd like to show you one more chart. To the right is the profile of their VP of Global Operations. The CEO spent nearly 5 years recruiting him. He'd been with the firm for almost 3 years at that point, but his profile showed severe frustration with his role as indicated by the strong negative bias and role awareness on the bottom of his chart, which led to a conversation with the CEO. As it turned out, he was bored and felt like he wasn't growing or being challenged enough and was considering moving to another company. People don't always speak up when they're dissatisfied, and the profile was integral to keeping him on board. They gave him additional duties in R&D to meet his needs for variety and growth, and it all worked out. Throughout the process of using this one tool, they accomplished a number of things. Of course, they came to agreement about the selection of their new VP of Sales and Marketing, the candidate the CEO wanted in the first place. And they were also able to keep their VP of Global Operations on board. In the process, they identified several internal candidates to groom for future advancement. The entire executive team took the assessment and used it to deepen the cohesion of their team, and because of that, were able to reach agreement on other key decisions much more easily. The assessment became part of their hiring process for key positions. The senior staff who were engaged in executive coaching got significantly better results because they were able to use the data from their profiles to pinpoint areas for growth to focus on with their coaches. As you know, good objective data can really enhance your ability to get things done and make more informed decisions across a number of important issues. I know that many of you are interested in implementing what you've learned today and would like to know more about how to do that. So I'd like to tell you about how our company, Freedom by Design, can support you. We're an executive coaching firm. We work with senior-level executives who want to maximize the performance of their top people and get their projects executed more successfully. And while you're welcome to contact us about our coaching services, right now we're particularly interested in helping you to assess the capabilities and predict the performance of your existing managers and potential new hires. MindScan is a comprehensive assessment tool for executives. In fact, it's the assessment we were just talking about in the case study a moment ago. Our company exists for one reason: to free senior executives from management headaches by helping them to anticipate and mitigate human capital hassles that prevent them from achieving their respective corporate visions. Remember, on average, it costs about $60,000 for every bad hire. When you or your people get this wrong, the cost can be significant. You know the headaches associated with replacing people, not to mention the morale issues, reputation, lost time, opportunity costs, and everything else. We're here to help in this area, and I'd like you to consider us if you're interested in avoiding the high costs and hassles associated with hiring the wrong people to management or assigning people duties that really aren't a good fit for them. If it'd be helpful to know who among your current workforce is strategic enough to groom for advancement, or if you'd like to be able to put an end to some of the drama among your management team, or anticipate potential issues with your top people so you can support them and make sure they stick around, this is our area of expertise. If you'd like your executive team to work together more effectively, this simple assessment tool, the MindScan, will really help. Unlike any other assessment tool available, MindScan for Executives will outline the capabilities of leaders based on how they think. No other tool will help you predict the performance of leaders like the MindScan. For instance, it'll tell you how your people think, where they have the most potential for success, how well they understand and how attentive they'll be to others, how they'll get themselves stuck, how to help and support them, what they value, their level of trust, how clear-minded they are, what they'll notice and miss altogether, how quickly they'll make decisions and adapt to change, how flexible and open they'll be to input and feedback, how strategic and practical they'll be from day to day, how structured they are in their thinking, and more. The profile takes only 20 minutes to complete and can't be manipulated. When people try to control how the assessment describes them, they end up looking narcissistic or completely lost, and those profiles are easy to spot, so you'll always know you've got an accurate read on how they think. Here are some of our clients. MindScan is our secret weapon for accomplishing two things. First, predicting the capability of leaders and identifying their strengths and opportunities for growth. And second, building cohesion and synergy among executive teams. In most cases, the mind scan is taken by whole teams and provides insights that lead to surprising improvements just from the information in the written reports. When leaders begin to understand the thinking of their peers, they tend to stop questioning each other's intentions, which is at the root of many conflicts. We'd like you to have an opportunity to experience the mind scan personally, so you can see for yourself how it can help you more properly choose the best people to help you run your company and get more from the people who already are. While it requires only about 20 minutes of your time to complete, it will generate a 20-page written report describing in great detail how you think across all 6 of the dimensions we spoke about. After you take it, we'll schedule you for an hour-long phone consultation to review your profile with you and show you how to make the most practical use of the data it uncovers, including how to use the data with your executive coach if you have one. We'll also make sure you get all your questions answered about how to engage other executives and managers at your firm to enthusiastically participate by taking the profile themselves and sharing it with your team, should you choose to do that at some point. Most of the time, people are so intrigued by the report they can't wait to share it anyway. But if some members of your team are private, we can show you how to get them on board if necessary. Of course, anything discussed during your consultation will be held in strict confidence. By the way, whatever your level of interest in the mind scan, we're happy to serve by answering any questions you may have about any of the content we've shared with you today. It's been a pleasure sharing this research with you today, and I sincerely hope you found it useful. I'm Jeff Putnam from Freedom by Design and PiercingEffectiveness.com, wishing you all the best in your businesses. Bye for now.